All right, I am here with the CEO, consultant, entrepreneur, podcaster, the owner, the digital dawn herself. So, so happy to get you on here, Dawn. And okay, first of all, let's just get this out there. You are a solo podcaster, so I'm pretty new to this, and every everyone's been wanting to learn a little bit more about you and a little bit more about the agency. So we wanted to put you on the opposite end of the desk, if you will, because in your Ecom Profit podcast, you are interviewing other industry experts as well as you bring on brand owners for your podcast. And we get a little piece of you here and there, even in your solo episodes. But we really wanted to get an interview with you because, more specifically, we are celebrating 10 years as an
Yay!
agency owner
Right?
for Digital Dawn this June. Yeah,
Right.
so it's a perfect time to finally do this. So first of all, congratulations. How does it feel to
Gosh.
own an agency for a decade now?
Well, first, yeah, I mean, if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be celebrating 10 years as not only just a business owner, but an agency owner specifically, I would have told you that you were absolutely crazy. I think I wouldn't have believed it. I don't think I ever thought this was something that was going to end up being like my lifelong, dream and purpose. But here we are 10 years later, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more excited. And I think it's been one of those like amazing journeys, not to be too cliche, oh, it's been such a wild ride, but it really has been pretty wild. So it's definitely something that I am proud of. I'm proud that we've made it as long as we have, because it really is something that a lot of business owners don't, agency or otherwise, but a lot of business owners don't even make it past the first couple of years, right? Like
Right.
statistically speaking, people don't make it in business as a small business owner that long. And if you can make it to 5 years, you have like, I don't know what it is, like a 95% chance of making it past that. And then once you hit 10 years, it's like, all right, you can make it forever sort of thing. So it's like, I mean, I feel really happy and excited and proud that it has been this long, but I never anticipated that this was going to be the journey that I was on. So,
Yeah, well, it is phenomenal. So what inspired you to start the agency? And what was the vision going into it? Walk the audience through just the
yeah.
start of creating what you have.
Well, for those people who maybe don't know the background of what I did before I started the agency. So I was a senior executive with Target Corporation. And so I worked with them for a really, really long time. And in 2014, I decided like I needed to shift, things needed to change. And so I left Target, and I was on kind of this like, okay, what am I going to do next journey? And the way that my leaving happened, I was not able to like go work for another retailer for a while. So I kind of just dabbled around in, the online space a little bit. And I always had wanted to do this like sort of consulting. I mean, I didn't really know what consulting meant exactly, but I thought, oh, I'll be a consultant, like that sounds cool. Everybody's a consultant. But people always would ask
Right.
me, like, what does Target do? Or how do you do it there? What are they doing? Or how can I do that in my business and stuff? And so I thought, okay, consulting would be,
Business advice. Yeah.
yeah, would be easy enough. I have a lot of, experience with that. I thought I could do that. And so I started taking some online classes and started doing some things. And this whole like internet world opened up to me that I didn't even know. And I still think a lot of people don't even know exists, where this whole like infrastructure of people are like making, creating businesses online. They don't have brick and mortar spaces. They have this whole
Right.
virtual world of people that live and do all these things across the world. And I don't know, from a corporate perspective, I just never really thought about it like that. I just never knew it existed. And so I started taking more courses, I started doing more research, and I got my first client from a Facebook group, actually. And somebody said, "Hey, does anybody know anybody that could like help me with some business questions that I have?" And I like raised my hand and said, "Oh, I'll answer them." And so we
Yeah.
got on Zoom and I started telling her my story, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, can I hire you?" And I was like, "For what? Like, what are you hiring me for?"
Like,
I
wait,
was
I
like,
wasn't
"What?
ready
I'm
for
just
this
telling
yet.
you my stuff." I'm like, "I don't think this is really anything that you're gonna like pay me for." And she's like, "Oh, people are gonna pay you a lot of money for your knowledge." And I was like, "Hmm,
Yeah.
okay." So that was my first client, and I didn't even know what to charge. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just thought, okay, I'll just like talk to her every week and see what she wants me to answer for her. And then I started giving her more and more advice, and we started creating things. And I don't know, it just kind of turned into this like really good coaching, mentorship type relationship that I had with her. And she started telling her friends, and then somebody else started telling their friends. And so I started getting more and more clients. And then I found this program online where you became an online business manager. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant, but it just sounded cool. So I was like, okay, I'll take this. And I think that course really opened up a whole different world for me. It taught me all about like the tools that were available online, how to like use different resources online, how to get familiar with like, Asana
Oh,
and project
yeah.
management and like all the stuff that I didn't
Yeah.
even know. I mean, I knew it, but I'd never like done it virtually. So that was really amazing. And then from there, I got a ton of clients. And so I started doing a lot of like solopreneur stuff where I was just like doing
Right.
consulting. And it was really funny because I think after about a year of doing that, somebody asked me, like, these strategies that you're giving us are really, really good. And I really like them. But I don't have anybody on my team to like actually implement any of this stuff. Can you like actually start implementing things for me? Or do you have anybody on your team that can actually implement stuff? And I was like, I don't have a team. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then I started thinking, oh, I could do this. I could implement some stuff and like I'll pay more. So I started implementing some stuff or charging more. And I thought, okay, I'll do
Yeah.
that. And then I started hiring somebody because I didn't know how to do graphic design. So I found somebody to hire and did graphic design with me. And so then we started doing stuff. Well, anyway, long story short, it just kind of started building and building and building. And the more I got into this, the more people kept asking for additional help and support. And that's where I started hiring all of the team that some are still there today and some have
Yeah.
come, and we really started doing Facebook, and we started doing a lot of, online marketing, and we started doing a lot of, like financial support, and we started doing consulting,
Yeah.
and it just kind of turned into this really big thing. And then 2020 hit, and it was like, oh shit, COVID, everything kind of just changed and everybody wanted to get online. And so it
Yeah.
was like perfect for me because I've been doing this a long time. So let's do and help everybody we can. And so that year, I consulted probably with like, I don't know, it was probably 150 or 200 different business owners over the course of the year of just like what I would do, how I would do it, how I would stay alive, how I would, and some of those became
Yeah.
clients, and some of them, just were people that needed help at the time. And so we rebranded the name Digital Dawn in 2020, and we've really started then kind of honing in specifically on just marketing, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
TikTok, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, the marketing side of the business. Although I really like the consulting side, and I really like the financial side of things and some of the like growth strategies for business that may or may not have anything to do with marketing, but I like that side of things too. But really, most people are attracted to the word marketing. And so they will come to us because they want marketing, and then they end up getting, all the other stuff on the backside too. But that's the long version of how this came to be over the last 10 years. And funny enough, the person that I hired first for that actual like design help is still helping us today
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
space. So 10 years later, or 9.5 years later, 9 years later, whatever it ended up being, kind of, she's still with us and she still helps and still does stuff. So it's a crazy, crazy thing that, it's managed to stay around this long, and that we've all, continued to grow, and it's scaled, and been amazing. So
Yeah, no, it really has. And I think too, Dawn, some of your clients, a handful of them have been around since pretty
since
much the
then,
conception.
yeah,
So
right.
talk to me about how client relationships in Digital Dawn success, and how do you maintain having a client for almost 10 years?
Yeah,
That's kind of unheard of, especially in the agency world. I feel, sometimes people get what they want from an agency and then they jump ship, or they think they can do it themselves
yeah,
if they don't have a big team. They
yeah.
think they can do it themselves and jump ship. But having a handful of clients that have stuck
Have
with you
stayed.
this long,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
talk
crazy
to me about
because
that.
I would have never thought that the people that had started with me originally would be the people that had stuck around as long too. Because
Really?
they really kind of just came in for a few things, right? Like one client came in just for a website and I built the website with him. And then it was like, oh, did you know I do all this other stuff? And he's like, no, I didn't know you did all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, do you want me to do it? And he's like, yeah. And now here we are. And so like, it never was like initially planned that way that I was going to, like these would be the clients I wanted to keep forever. But I think over
Yeah,
time, it has really been important for me to build those relationships with my clients, and not just the ones that have been around for a long time, but I take a very personal, like, I don't know, ownership in other people's businesses as well. And I feel very
yeah,
committed
totally.
to other people's success. And I feel like if you're going to put your trust in us to do it, then I need to execute and I need to be able to show you that we can get good results. And over the course of the 10 years, really, it's kind of morphed and changed. And, I've built relationships with these people that I mean, I've traveled to their homes and spent time with them. I've seen them like when they've been on vacation, I've been on vacation, like we've met up in places, we have traveled together to different events, we have gone to like networking workshops together. I mean, like it has turned into something I never even imagined that it could turn into. It's like a friendship as well as a client relationship. I mean, when you travel with somebody overseas in particular and you go with them to a retreat across the world and you spend weeks with them and you know what I mean? Like, and I never like thought, okay, what? Like, who am I doing all this stuff? And who am I doing it with this person of all people? Like, I would have never, ever met this person had it not been for this business and the online space. So, for me, it's very much about a commitment to relationships. It's about being committed to the success of the clients themselves, but it's also just like a personal thing too. We have just built this over time. And I would say a lot of the clients that have worked with us know that we really are committed and care about it and that we really do have this sort of like personal loyalty to them. Um
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a testament to you and to the agency, Dawn. Just when you find good people, you stick with good people.
yep.
So
Yep.
that is really awesome. So challenges. Let's breeze over a few of the challenges from 10 years ago to now. Let's talk about just what were the challenges and how have they changed
Yeah.
over time, as an agency owner.
Well, I think one of the things that at the very beginning was there's a couple things. For me personally, at the very beginning, coming from corporate into a solopreneur, entrepreneur space, like I was very used to having a team of people to do things for me. And I remember being in my office like within the first couple months, and I remember having a computer issue. And I remember thinking, like, who do I call to like fix this? Like, there's nobody obviously here on my team that's got because I don't have a team. So like when I
Right.
was, working at corporate, I'd like call and be like, hey, IT guy, come down and fix my computer for me. And I just remember thinking like, what do people do? Like, I'm sure there's people that fix computers, but like, do I Google it? Where do I find, who are they and where do I find them? Or am I expected to like do it? Or do I
Yeah.
fix this myself? And so like a little bit of that, like, oh shit, like I'm all by myself. And if something's going to happen, I got to fix it or do it myself. So that was good. And I really, kind of realized at that particular moment, I got to like find some really good people or I got to get really tech savvy myself and figure, scrappy and figure stuff out. So that was
No
really
kidding.
hard, I think, at the
At the
beginning.
beginning.
Yeah, it's huge. And then I think, the whole virtual space, if you think about like 2015, 2016, like virtual stuff, teams and things, like they weren't a thing yet, really. You know what I mean? Like only after COVID did virtual teams and having Zooms and all this kind of stuff become a thing. But we were doing this well before anybody was doing, business virtually without like really understanding it. And so it was a challenge because still to this day, like you and probably 90% of the team I have not met in person. And
Right.
like we have worked together for years and years
Yeah.
and years. And the person who started with me at the very beginning, I didn't even talk to her on Zoom for the first 2 years. Like we only did Slack. Like we never even thought, hey,
Okay.
let's get on Zoom and look at each other. Cause like Zoom really wasn't a thing that much. You know what I mean? Like it was weird. And so it's very, it was very lonely, I think, at the beginning because I was very used to having like a lot of people around me and having that interaction and having like, people to talk to and stuff like that. And it can just be kind of a isolating experience when you don't have an office to go to and you don't have a team. So I had to do a lot of things to like go to coffee shops or do networking groups or have lunches with people and stuff just so that I like mentally was not like getting sort of like, oh my gosh, this is so hard and horrible to do by yourself kind of thing. So that was part of it. And then I think Facebook and Instagram, Meta as it's called now, really changed in 2017, 18, 19 up into 20, like has progressively gotten harder and harder and harder. And it's made the industry of online marketing that much more challenging. And so that's out of your control. And so it really kind of came to fruition for me during COVID of like, okay, I have this business. And if I don't make money, then other people don't make money, or I don't have a team. And so like, am I going to put all my eggs in one basket? Am I going to do, how am I going to survive this if COVID takes us all down, or if Meta goes away, or you know what I mean? Like some of the stuff you don't think about until you are in that situation, and it can be totally scary and freak you out completely. And I for a long time I thought, okay, well, I can just go get another job. I'll just get a job. And then after a couple of years, I'm like, there's no way I could go get a job. Like I can't work for anybody else now. Like I'm my own
No.
boss. I couldn't possibly have somebody boss me around. Like it's way too much now. So I don't know. It's just things like that where, it's hard. I mean, nobody said it was easy by any means, but I don't think you realize just how hard it actually is until you're doing it day in, day out, whether you eat or somebody else eats, or whether,
Yeah.
I mean, the pressure of creating business for yourself and for other people, it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. And if you aren't built for it, that's why I think a lot of people don't survive. I mean, it's hard.
Oh, yeah. No, you were built for it, Dawn. I mean,
I wouldn't have said that.
you-
Like I said, I wouldn't have thought that given where I came from. That was not always my thought. But yeah, I think now, like, I can't see myself doing anything else. I mean, do I think it's going to evolve and change over time? For sure. Because I think just internet and the way that we sell and buy and the economy and all sorts of stuff. Yes, I think it's definitely going to change. But do I ever see myself going back and like working a corporate job? Never. Like I could never do that now.
yeah, good. I'm glad. I mean, Digital Dawn is a future focused agency. So
Yeah.
we're not, the world of AI, as I like
Yeah.
to call it. We're embracing it and
Yeah.
learning just as well. We're not, I mean, it is a scary place. And if if you don't keep up, but we are keeping up with it and learning just as much. So even though we are a future-based agency, Dawn,
Yeah.
you're an 80s baby.
I am.
So you grew up child of dial-up, right? Big cell
Yes.
phone or no cell phone, maybe.
No cell phone. I'm that old. Like there wasn't even dial up when I was like,
No,
that's how old. No dial up.
you were a
I didn't have
teenager.
dial up. I didn't have
Dial-up.
dial up till I was in college. After
Oh,
college, maybe. I don't even remember. Like it's
okay,
a long time.
yeah. So with that, you are very familiar with traditional marketing. If you had to pick a piece of traditional marketing that
Yeah.
you think is effective, what would you say?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think the traditional marketing that I still think is so effective is like actual TV media marketing, like actual on TV commercial marketing. That to me has been timeless for forever, right? Like even back when TV was like just getting started, and I'm not that old because I did have color TV when I
Get
grew
that
up.
out of the
Like my
way.
son was like, was the TV even colored when you were? I'm like, I'm not that old, for God's sake. But even then, like I remember being a kid watching commercials on Saturday mornings or, and then telling my mom like, oh, I want that. And, or even still, I mean, today you pay, I don't know, $5 million for a minute on the Super Bowl or whatever. I mean, like TV media is still very, very effective and still one of those things that I consider more traditional. Now, the way in which we've gone about it, how we do it, what it looks like, the cost of it, all that kind of stuff. But that's pretty timeless, and it always has been something that I think people have been able to react to really well and people see it. And it's a very sort of in your face marketing strategy. Most people have TVs. Not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody's on Instagram. Not everybody's on TikTok. Not everybody, but I don't really know a lot of people that don't have a TV at this point, young and
Yeah.
old. And so for me, it's like, okay, if you're going to go back to basics, go to TV. I don't really think print is that valuable anymore just because I don't think people are reading magazines. They're
The attention
not,
span.
right. And
Yeah.
and there's a whole environmental thing of that I just find to be like sort of wasteful. And so I think there's like a way that we can do it differently, but I think TV is probably the more traditional back in the day sort of marketing that I think is still working today.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Now we don't do TV ads,
We don't do
everyone.
TV ads. No, thank God.
That's just yeah,
Just FYI.
just
No TV ads. Thank
FYI.
you. I don't want to get into that business, but we do a lot of other things, just
Yeah.
not that. Yeah,
Yes. Okay, awesome. So then Dawn, let's just talk about you. Let's kind of end on you.
sure.
Tell us hobbies outside of the business. And I know like your agency 24/7, but
Yeah.
tell us about you, Dawn. Give us your
Yeah.
background. Tell us your hobbies. Everyone's dying to know
Oh,
the
are they?
Dawn outside of the digital Dawn.
Well, I would say that I try not to be agency 24/7 because I think that's hard mentally for a lot of people to be on all the time. But things I like to do. So I'm married, have two kids that are young adulting right now. And so that's very keeps me very busy. But I love to go to concerts. I love to go to like live events. And I missed it so much during COVID. I didn't realize how much that I missed it. And so now my husband and I are like going all the time. We love to go to concerts. I've got 4 dogs. I love animals. My whole like life could, if I could just take in every rescue that dog, not necessarily cat, but dog out there, I would. I just love animals so much. And my prior life, way back before Target, I was a chef and like was classically trained as a chef. And so we love to like cook and have big parties and do all that kind of stuff. So I love entertaining and cooking and all that kind of stuff. So nothing too like crazy, exciting, wild stuff, but definitely a good big concert goer and love to be at like big events and yeah, sort of an extroverted introvert, I would say I call myself. So I love to be around people, but only for like a certain amount of
Yeah.
time, you know what I mean? And then I got to go home and like go to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So when you do go home or you have those quieter times, how do you unwind? Like, what's your relaxation style? What do you do to relax?
Yeah, well, I love my dogs, right? I love hanging out with my dogs. They just have a great like calming presence about them that I think is very cathartic. I love reading. I'm a pretty avid reader, so I like to read. I'm a huge true crime fan. Like I love true crime. I read all the like scary horror books. I love to watch like scary true crime. I love to listen to true crime podcasts, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much what you'll find me doing when I'm relaxing. It's like listening to murders and reading about
So you're walking down the
murders.
street with 4 dogs and you have murder mystery, like, no
Yes,
one's messing with you at that point.
right. Exactly. I'm walking through the forest listening to someone being killed and attacked
Yeah.
during, their walks. So yes. And I, go to sleep watching, true crime stuff. So yes, very, very, very relaxing for me, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what I do. So
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so do you have any hidden talents nobody knows about that you
well,
want?
apparently a lot of people didn't know I was a chef before. That seems to be one that a lot of people didn't know, that I have like this whole like I can cook, not just like a little bit, like I can full on. And I think that's kind of a hidden talent. I can do the splits without having to
What?
warm up. Still to this day, like I could do the splits right now. I have some sort of weird like ability to do splits. So
You're flexible? How about
mhm.
just do you take gymnastics?
I did when I was a kid. Yeah. When I was little, I danced and did gymnastics and stuff, but I
Oh
don't
my
know. Right.
gosh.
So that's my one hidden talent.
That's amazing. So the chef part of it,
Yes.
Italian, Mexican, do you have any specialty? You said you
Well,
were classically trained.
I'm Italian, and so we always cook Italian, right? Like that's sort of like a requirement of being Italian, is that you have to
Yeah,
know how to cook Italian. But
know how to.
outside of that, I think my husband. This is when my husband and I met, when we were both chefs, and so we were both trained in French classical cooking.
Wow.
So that's sort of our like formal training is that, but I don't really like that type of food all that much. I mean, I like to cook it, but that's
Yeah.
sort of the type of training that we were trained in, was classical French cooking. So
Wow,
mhm.
that's wild. That's awesome. Um, and I'm very surprised by the split. Not surprised, but that's totally
It is,
cool.
right? I
Never.
mean, who knew?
Okay, and then I guess just to like wrap it all up here, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
For like at the beginning of the agency piece, or like just in life in general, because there'd be so many pieces.
How about let's do both? Why not? What the
Okay.
heck?
So if I was to give myself advice, teenage Dawn versus this Dawn, I would say take the trip, move, do the thing, go away, and then you can always come back. Like I was always so scared to leave, just the comfort of it. You know what I mean? My family, everything. I stayed close to home to go to school. I stayed close to home. I didn't travel a lot. I didn't do a lot until I became an adult. And then I was like, I can't get away far enough. And I wish I would have done that when I had no responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
And so that would have been my advice to myself, is like take the trip, do the thing. Now as an agency owner and as a business owner, I think one of the pieces of advice that I give most everybody is that if you don't make mistakes, you're not really growing. And I know that that kind of sounds, cliche, but you really are constantly making mistakes all the time. And it's the resilience of that that keeps you going forward. So I look back and I think I should have made a different decision. I shouldn't have hired that person. I shouldn't have kept that person on so long. I shouldn't have done that. I should have charged this. I should have, all the things that we like, oh, if I would have, could have. But I really try to look at that stuff as stepping stones to where we are today, and being able to look at that and say, okay, the resilience of being able to recognize that you shoulda, coulda, woulda, don't make that mistake again, and be able to pick yourself and move forward from it, for me, probably is the best piece of advice to give to people in in a business. Is like, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to spend a whole bunch of money. You're going to blow a whole bunch of money. You're going to hire the wrong person. You're going to do the wrong thing. But if you can recognize it and not make the same mistake again and be resilient, you will be successful. This is not all perfect and roses and like, oh, everybody loves it and it's amazing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you were resilient and got through those hurdles and continue to get through the hurdles. So,
yep. Yep.
yeah,
Every
I
day.
mean, that's where 10 years has brought us,
Right.
everyone.
Right.
Again, huge congratulations, Dawn,
Thank you.
to being an agency owner for 10 years. And here's to many more.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers.
Here's to many more. I appreciate it. Thank you for interviewing me. And thanks for being on the team for many of those years. So I
Yes.
appreciate it. It's been
Yes.
awesome. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.